Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
I got the handwriting of an engineer.
Oh, yeah. Please state your name and your address.
Mike Ryman, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm a civil engineer with Becker Morgan and president of the... Did you start? Sorry. I don't see a green light.
There, yes.
Okay. I'm a civil engineer with Becker Morgan and president of the Home Builders Association of Delaware, which represents 370 member companies and thousands of employees throughout Delaware. Our members are builders, contractors, suppliers, professionals, engineers, plumbers, painters, electricians, a number of other entities. In fact, home building is the foundation of many small businesses in our state and impacts thousands of families. We commissioned a study of home building in Delaware by the National Association of Home Builders. Home building accounts for $1.6 billion in economic impact in Delaware, $380 million of tax revenue, and 22,000 jobs. These are not temporary jobs. My neighbor's an electrician. I don't think he thinks his job is temporary. But building a home is not just an economic driver. Building a home for someone is about participating in the American dream. It is where families start and grow, where communities are formed, and where lasting relationships are forged. Yet that American dream is becoming out of reach for so many. Not because we have built too many homes, but because we have not built nearly enough homes. Consider this. In 1991, we built about 1 million homes per year in the United States. That increased to 1.8 million in around 2007. Then the bottom fell out. The country turned off home building. It wasn't a moratorium, but it might as well have been. The country stopped building homes. In 2022, we just got back to 1 million homes a year. Think about that. 30 years later, and we're building homes at the same rate. We're now dealing with an unprecedented housing crisis, and this crisis is real and impacts everyone. I'll give you one example from my company. We lost a young engineer, a couple years out of school. She was great. She liked her job. We liked her. She couldn't afford to buy a home. She left the area to move back in with her parents, who were not local, so she could save money to buy a home. So we lost a young professional with a great paying job because of housing. This housing crisis is impacting businesses in a big way. And I'll switch hats. I'm also an owner of Becker Morgan Group, an architectural and engineering firm who has been doing business in Delaware and this county for 40 years. We have 130 total employees, with a majority of those in Dover, Delaware, and Salisbury, Maryland office. Many of those staff live in this county, work on projects in this county. What should I tell my employees who have been working on projects and they are suddenly halted? Well, I need to lay them off. The worst thing for any business owner is to consider letting go of staff when markets turn. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but this is not one of those times. Now is not the time for moratoriums. Moratoriums don't actually solve problems. Now is the time to figure out how we can all come together to tackle this crisis as quickly as possible. We are ready to come to the table with stakeholders and develop solutions. Let's get to work.
Thank you, sir. We had a little technical difficulty. We'll take a second. Please, no applause. Next up, Trish Galoo. Okay. There we go. We have it working now. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tish Galoo. I live in Ocean View, Delaware. My comments are about the discussion of housing moratorium. With my involvement in the Sussex Housing Group and the St. Vincent de Paul Society, I have seen firsthand the development of expensive homes throughout the county for the last 10 years. What I have not seen is the production of affordable apartments and housing for our workers, the teachers, the nurses, the new doctors, the police, the firefighters, the home health care workers, the restaurant workers, managers, and workers in our grocery stores. I haven't seen that. In your comprehensive plan of 2018, you have what's known as inclusionary zoning as a way to produce a variety of housing throughout the county, but it has not been utilized or produced the housing that was planned. Please list the housing that you have seen produced since this plan was in place. The zoning is not mandatory, so developers have ignored it. And the result is no affordable housing for the workers in our county and no incentive for that type of building to be built. My understanding is that there is federal, state, and possibly local funds that have recently been put in place to actually build affordable housing in each county in Delaware. Would a moratorium affect this essential housing? Do we need a review of the infrastructure for any proposed housing? Yes. But first, define specifically what you consider infrastructure. Would this moratorium affect the production of absolutely necessary affordable housing? And how can you plan for the development necessary for the entire community? Please review what housing costs are. What housing is available for a 40-hour worker who works for $15 an hour, for $20 an hour, or even $25 an hour? I think it will shock you and may inform you and help you understand who can actually afford to live in our county and what the future will look like in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Capodanno. Please state your name and give your address, please.
Ed Capodanno, 28 to Circle, Georgetown, Delaware. Good morning, council members. My name is Ed Capodanno. I'm the president of Associated Builders and Contractors Delaware Chapter, a trade association that represents 500 commercial and industrial and residential builders in the state of Delaware. I'm here today to express opposition to any proposal to establish a building moratorium in Sussex County. While we understand the concerns that have led to discussions about halting development, we believe that this approach would have significant unintended consequences, threatening local jobs and businesses and further exacerbating our state's workforce housing crisis. A moratorium would likely lead to a sharp decline in local businesses, new construction, and development opportunities. These projects serve as a vital economic driver in Sussex County, supporting small and large contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, and numerous ancillary businesses. Slowing or stopping development would jeopardize well-paying jobs for residents, reduce investment in community projects, and limit the availability of affordable and workforce housing options. A moratorium could inadvertently deepen housing shortages, drive up prices, and exclude working families from securing housing in the communities where they work. ABC Delaware and our members stand ready to engage in a productive dialogue with Sussex County Council to address the pressing issues that have prompted discussions of a moratorium. We believe there are more balanced solutions that can safeguard infrastructure, preserve the unique character of Sussex County, and expand housing affordability while sustaining economic growth. By working together on targeted policies and initiatives, we can enhance responsible development, address environmental and infrastructure concerns, and ensure that Sussex County remains a vibrant place to live, work, and invest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Moody. Stephanie Moody. I can't read the name. Ron something, Ronford? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Please give your name and your address.
Stephanie Moody. I live in Milton, Delaware, and I'm here on behalf of the Realtors Association, which is in Georgetown, Delaware. President Hudson, members of council, my name is Stephanie Moody, and I'm speaking on behalf of Sussex County Association of Realtors. We would like to express our concern regarding the discussions of a year-long moratorium on large-scale development projects. We recognize that Sussex County has seen significant growth over the past 10 years. We believe that a collaborative effort should be made to reach a smart growth perspective. In fact, we are champions of smart growth, but we oppose a moratorium as it proffers a multitude of issues for the constituents of Sussex County. A moratorium will halt job creation in the construction industry and disrupt the housing market, potentially leading to increased housing costs and thereby a lack of affordable housing. We are currently over 20,000 homes deficient in the number of affordable units needed to meet demand. A lower housing supply will make the cost of houses skyrocket, and there will be no such thing as affordable housing here in Sussex County. Laborers, suppliers, and others involved in the housing industry will get laid off. Beyond the housing industry, think of all the trades that care for your homes. Landscapers, painters, plumbers, electricians, and so many more. All these same people are spending their earnings at our restaurants and our stores, locals supporting other locals and local businesses. Additionally, moratoriums do not address the root causes of the issues that it intends to solve, which have yet to be identified in detail. We would encourage council to revisit ordinances that govern matters involving community density, home lot sizes and setbacks, parking requirements, depth of wetland buffers, infill development, traffic patterns, road networks, and community services such as medical, emergency, police, and fire. The Sussex County Association of Realtors opposes a building moratorium as its effects would be devastating to our residents and our economy. Instead, we advocate for smart growth solutions that would create homes for families of all income levels. We encourage council to seek out and engage with all stakeholders, and we are willing and look forward to being part of that discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Could I say something quick? We don't normally comment during this period, but raised a number of good points. I would love to see concrete recommendations. I mean, you touched a number of topics, but recommendations from your perspective, could be submitted at a future date and could be helpful.
I thank you. State your name and your address, please. And next
Ron
up,
Ford.
Excuse me. Next up will be Scott Thomas.
Ron Ford, 1472 Long Ridge Road, Clayton, Delaware, 19938. With the moratorium for the housing, what it's going to do is going to create job losses. And when you lay a person off, as a business owner, when you lay a person off, you not only affect that person, but you affect 3 to 4 people in their family. And by doing that, that person's not going to be able to live on unemployment. And then you're going to have a deficit. And then you're going to be shelling out more money for the people who live in the houses and all that. And it's going to be totally devastating. And then also with that, it could eventually create the fall of the value of houses and value of property going down and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. Thomas, and next up would be Joe Conaway. Please state your name and address, please.
Good morning, Council. Scott Thomas. I'm here representing the Sussex Economic Development Action Committee, CEDAC, as our president. The Sussex Economic Development Action Committee, or CEDAC, wholeheartedly opposes any policy or actions leading to a construction and building moratorium. Such an action will cripple and stifle our county's economy by causing a loss of many jobs, severely lower the demand for local goods and services, and prompt myriad lawsuits. A moratorium of any sort would be counter to the solutions needed to fix our housing shortages for those who are working here or seeking work here. Instead of a moratorium, CEDAC is committed to working with the public and private sectors to create more attainable housing that will align with the county's comprehensive development plan to keep our communities vibrant and healthy. These are times to offer new solutions that support our local economy and preserve the quality of life that makes Sussex County a desirable place.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Conaway. Next up is Dr. Tam.
It's a pleasure to be here, and having been here, not in this room, but other rooms like this, good luck today. I had written some things down, but it's really more of an issue of right and wrong. And first off, a one-year moratorium is not a one-year moratorium. It's 4 years. Nobody is going to design anything until you have in place ordinances that say how to do it. That takes 6 months, a year. So we don't do anything for a year, another year while it's designed, and then, and you know this now, the time frame to get on the agenda to be in front of you for final approval is 18 to 24 months. That's 4 years, folks. In 4 years, you won't have just an 80% loss of revenue. That's what, or not 80%, you're down to 80%. If you look at your budget figures, you're bleeding now. Growth is slowed considerably and doesn't need to be addressed in this way. We have spent, as CEDAC, when I was chairman, and you'll hear, I'm sure, some of our folks from our housing committee that talked about affordable and workforce housing, two of the vital issues in this county. We have some recommendations that are, I'm sure, going to be made available to you very shortly. That'll give you the opportunity. I had a client that was going to build units in the Ocean Oak Orchard area and was just overwhelmed by the cost of doing that, and he can't do it now. He can't do that. That's the problem. That's what we need to do. We need to stop passing regulations that don't get what you all want done, and that's what we need to do. You're going to hear from a lot of folks today, and they're going to say a lot of things that I don't need to repeat. I think that we're going to go back to what CDAC has recommended. That's a committee of stakeholders involving both the pro and anti, or whatever you want to call us, developers. Let's talk about the problems. Bring to you a set of documents that you, the elected people, can adopt that'll do some of the things that we need to be concerned about. Bringing our kids home so they can work here and live here is important, and let's begin to think that way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Tan. Next up is Jack Vassilotti. Please state your name.
David Tam, President and CEO of BB Healthcare, 424 Savannah Road, Lewis, Delaware. Good morning, Mr. President and members of the Sussex County Council. My name is Dr. David Tam, and I am the President and CEO of BB Healthcare, Sussex County's local, nonprofit, independent community health system. That's not just a tagline. That is a commitment that we have made to take care of the people in Sussex County. And as you know, we have offices not just in Lewis, but in Ellendale, Milton, Millville, Dagsboro, Milford, Selbyville, to spread health care, accessible quality health care throughout Sussex County for this growing community. I am here to share my concerns regarding this proposed moratorium on growth and development in the county. BB Healthcare has been committed to growing and evolving our integrated healthcare system to meet the growing and evolving needs of the people who live and work and visit in our county. Not just a hospital, but clinics, laboratories, x-ray facilities, places where people can go to get the health care they need without having to go and be admitted to a hospital. As such, we work tirelessly to recruit new physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants to ensure that residents get the health care access they need without leaving our county, without having to go to Philadelphia or Johns Hopkins or Washington, D.C. The recruitment of these healthcare professionals will be significantly hampered when they learn that there is a moratorium on growth and development in Sussex County. I've already had questions from physicians and surgeons that I'm trying to recruit because they have heard about the cost containment board that was passed last year by the state and the impact of that on the ability of a healthcare system, a local healthcare system, not a mega system, to serve and protect the people of the county. It is important to recognize, by the way, that every new medical professional we bring also requires the hiring of anywhere up to 5 or 6 other healthcare staff, nurses, technicians, physical therapists, technologists, medical assistants, and workforce housing is a significant challenge to those people who we are trying to recruit from outside the region to support our services. We're committed to working with you, the county, on figuring out how to make sure that healthcare, which is a public infrastructure requirement, just like fire and police, so that we can serve the people of the county together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. Okay, Mr. Vassilotti, and next up would be Christopher Duke.
Morning. My
Morning.
name is Jack Vassilotti. I live in...
Sir, push your button on your mic, please.
Good morning. My name is Jack Vassilotti. I live in Mulberry Nolan, Lewis. I've lived there for 31 years. I would like to speak about Councilman Lloyd's proposal for a moratorium. As you've heard from others, there are extremes. On both ends, there are extremes on the other end. Things that are not as good as some people would like it to be. Okay, across from my home on Mulberry Knoll Road, the Scenic Harbor Development is constructing 319 homes. What this does is increase the number of homes on a 1.6-mile road by 400%. There is still more farmland on this road that can be sold and developed. That would only add to the heavy volume. There's heavy construction volume, which has made this road riddled with potholes for a number of years. Build-out is projected over 5 years, so that's a bad effect on the people that live on this road and nearby roads. On Route 24, there's the center at Love Creek, 695,000 square feet of retail space, very close to the intersection here, very close to the schools. That's expected to generate 13,000 vehicles a day. The DelDOT count, as I've seen from 2023, says that this section already has 15,461 average daily trips. It doesn't make sense to add that much traffic to a road that was just improved. How can you justify that kind of growth? This is just my immediate area. Multiply that on roads like Route 24, Route 9, which have the schools are nearby, and you have backups throughout the day. Route 9 is going to be a while to get that widened, and that's another area of problem too. Where does this stop? A moratorium makes sense, and County Council needs to be sensible. You all need to travel these roads across the county to see this. Give farmers incentive for preservation. Re-examine proposals to slow down, and if needed, stop the rapid growth and promote infrastructure improvement first. As a resident of Lewis Rehoboth area for a total of 43 years, it's still a beautiful place to live for me and for my children and grandchildren. Please be open-minded to this brave proposal. There are ways to do things differently, as others have said too. Also, if you're going to give the developers a lot of leeway, get that voluntary school assessment in place for Sussex County. Thank you.
Thank you. Duke. Next up is Bailey Thompson.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Duke, 309 South Governors Avenue. Christopher Duke, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware. I am the president of the American Council of Engineering Companies in Delaware. We represent over 30 companies and over 1,100 employees in the state. We are the design and construction professionals bringing development and infrastructure improvements to life. ACEC Delaware is opposed to the suggested moratorium. Moratorium will have a direct negative impact on our business in a very obvious way. This is very true. Quite simply, no projects equals no work. However, there is a very real indirect effect, and that is one of lost opportunity and messaging to the business community. Last night at the State Chamber of Commerce annual dinner, I listened to the keynote speaker talk about how the very legislation that allows Delawareans to enjoy things like tax-free shopping and low property taxes were a direct result of our neighbors from New Jersey failing to act in a way that would have made them the corporation destination of the world instead of Delaware. A moratorium will send the message that Sussex County is closed for business. When businesses and employers instead look to our neighbors during such a time, who's to say that they will ever look back again? We need to be very careful about the message that we send to the business community, because the one that is sent could have reverberating effects for years and years. Rather than exact a moratorium, we ask that ACEC be invited to the table to collaboratively discuss solutions to the concerns of council and the public. Engineers are problem solvers by nature. We are asking for the opportunity to participate in solving the puzzle rather than sending a potentially devastating message that cannot be unsent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bailey Thompson. Next up is Jill Hicks.
Great.
Green lights on, it's on.
Excellent. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President and members of the Council. I am Bailey Thompson in from Washington, D.C., representing the National Association of Home Builders. NAHB is a trade association that represents more than 600 affiliated state and local associations. I'm here to oppose this moratorium proposal, as building moratoriums are drastic measures that represent a failure in planning that will have lasting downstream effects on a community even after its term has concluded. Sussex County and Delaware as a whole are undersupplied in housing units. According to a 2023 needs assessment from the Delaware State Housing Authority, the county will need to produce 13,392 residential and 5,788 seasonal units by 2030 to keep up with demand. With this large of a need, stopping development for 12 months should not be an option. Stopping residential construction for 12 months will not only impact the many local home builders, landscapers, roofers, carpenters, and too many other small businesses to name, but it will also impact your current residents. Property taxes and rents may increase due to high demand and low supply. Property tax needs will not be distributed among the growing population and drawn from new attainable housing. But as the supply plateaus and demand continues to grow, that cost will increasingly weigh on the shoulders of your current residents. In the state of Delaware, 75.5% of households are already unable to afford the median price new construction home. Delaying projects by ignoring applications while builders must still pay interest on their loans will only lead to increasingly unaffordable prices once homes are finally able to hit the market again.
Thank you very much. Next up is Joe Pica.
Jill Hicks, 37 Aintree Drive, Lewis, President of the Sussex Preservation Coalition. SPC has repeatedly argued that growth in Sussex County has been irresponsible and excessive, outpacing infrastructure, including but not limited to roadway capacity, school facilities, staffing needs of the education system, emergency services, the healthcare system, and even the capacity of the county's own planning and zoning staff. By continuing to allow this rapid pace of irresponsible growth, County Council has made it impossible for these services to perform at their best. You've set them up for frustration and possible failure with no end in sight. This is inefficient, unproductive, and a costly way to manage the county. This past election was an indictment of that record. SPC's position has been made clear with its recent engagement with the Perimeter Buffer Ordinance and the amendments to 99-9C and open space. In each case, particularly the last two, the amendments adopted by Council did not go far enough to bring clarity or specificity to the changes needed. And the building industry agreed with us. Furthermore, the damage caused by the clear-cutting of forest, the loss of wetlands, pollution of inland bays and waterways allowed by the county's insufficient and vague codes will be this generation's legacy, injurious conditions left to the next generation. This is unacceptable. Everyone is frustrated because to date, Council has not addressed these issues in a way that results in real change. Public consensus across the county is that County Council has not had the political will to take the depth of action needed. A moratorium should be exercised as a last resort. SPC agrees the county has reached a crisis. We have witnessed the destruction long enough. The quality of life among the citizenry of the county has been rapidly degrading. Your constituents are seeing it, feeling it, and living with it without an end in sight. Therefore, Sussex Preservation Coalition asks County Council for three things. First, a commitment that within 30 days, County Council will make a solid commitment to work diligently to end the crisis we have outlined. Second, a plan. In 3 months, County Council is asked to develop a plan for engaging stakeholders, the people in this room, including but not limited to county officials, state agencies, the public, and the development community. The plan should outline the specific steps and timelines to review the current land use codes and to gain consensus on needed amendments and implementation. Third, progress. The significant progress is made within 6 months. If progress is not met according to these milestones, then a call for a moratorium with results and time-bound mandates will be pursued by the Sussex Preservation Coalition. It is time. The voting public spoke loud and clear. We are committed to work with you and the stakeholders. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Thanks.
What I did.
You got it. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay. My name is Joe Pica. My wife and I live at 17 Surf Avenue in Lewis. I welcome the call for the moratorium to be considered by Sussex County Council. It has the effect of focusing attention, as we have seen this morning, as is in clear evidence.
I think what it does is to focus a great deal of attention on what the meaning of the last election was. My interpretation, and I think it's an honest one, is stop doing business as usual. We have seen the consequences of land use decisions in Sussex, and they are unacceptable. Major changes are needed, and changes need to occur now, not sometime in the distant future. The task is not easy. What should change? How much change should there be? And when should it happen? What a moratorium would do is to provide a period of time to develop answers to those questions. It's not the only solution, as my colleague Jill just mentioned. So the question before County Council is, what are you going to do about it? And if not a moratorium, then what? I think it's important that the county, in fact, come up with answers, because there is an alternative. If county officials cannot deal effectively with these problems, those of us concerned about the county's future can turn to state officials for help. It's important to remember, home rule is not a constitutional right in Delaware. The powers exercised by counties are delegated by the General Assembly. And what the General Assembly can delegate, it can also reclaim. There are conversations already around the state about what is the proper balance between state and county authority. I think if meaningful action cannot be taken in Georgetown, the answer may be in Dover. Thank you for your consideration. I think the time for change is now, and I urge you to take up the problem quickly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Timmons. Next up is John Collier.
Hi, John. You just turned it off. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the podium, the microphone that looks like this. At the bottom, there's a space bar. It looks like a space bar. You have to make sure that green light or green icon on the space bar is the ring around the top of the microphone. So that way, everybody can hear it, and it goes out on the internet. If it's green, it's good.
Right. And to make it easy, let's just turn it on, and nobody touches it.
There you go.
Got it.
John Timmons, 76 West Avenue, Ocean View, Delaware. I was born and raised Dagsboro, Sussex County, and all my life. I'm partners with my brother and my father. We have various real estate holdings in the area, commercial businesses in the area, a landlord, property manager, also a local realtor. And I represent quite a few farmers and property owners in the area, as well as ourselves. I believe this moratorium, the proposed moratorium, would have negative effects on the area in the way of values. I believe that it would also cause a lot of loss of commercial opportunities, as there are a lot of businesses that are looking to come to the area, and they would obviously need financing. And if a moratorium was implemented, that's going to impact a lot of values, as well as the development. As you know, we have a lot of aging farmers in the area. Their heirs may not necessarily want to farm. Hopefully they will. But some don't, and they would lose that property right with a moratorium. So again, I think it would have a lot of negative effects in the county. I think there's a much smarter way to grow the county, and they're the ones that implemented the comprehensive land use plan many years ago, and the developers are aware of the plan. They are working with council members, planning and zoning, to implement those plans, and maybe there's a better way to streamline the application and development process, with a lot of the help from the engineers in the back room here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Collier. And next up would be Tammy or Jamie. Starts with a B. I can't read it.
Jamie Burke.
Jamie Burke, I'm sorry, is up next.
Good morning, members of the County Council. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is John Collier. I reside in Milton, Delaware, and I am also the mayor of Milton, Delaware. Now, two members of this body have heard me make this plea before. The folks before me have made a lot of valid points about what you may or may not face as a result of a moratorium. But for me, I have two things that I want to request. First of all, I'm in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the 19968 zip code. And in that zip code, we're represented by 3 different county council districts, yet not a single member of your Planning and Zoning Commission owns that zip code. And that concerns me because I feel that decisions need to be made by the people that live there. Second thing, I believe that you could go a long way if the county would, if nothing else, stop accepting applications for development in investment strategy level 4. That's simple, because that's where a lot of them come from right now. So, again, I didn't have much to say, and I'm being rather selfish in my comments, but there were a lot of valid things made, and I advise you all to think long and hard before you enter into a moratorium, because the impacts reach far beyond what you've already heard in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burke. Next up is Ken Crisberry.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Burke. I reside at 601 New Street, Milford, Delaware, Sussex County side. As a former councilperson, 2-term councilperson in Milford, I understand campaign promises, and I understand what that means to the constituents and who voted for you. But when we look at what this will do to the workforce as an employer, it has a huge effect. In my position as town manager of Millsboro, although I'm not representing Millsboro today, I have to provide water, sewer, and police services for our residents. Yesterday, we're having a meeting with BB about their new 100,000 square foot ER facility. I don't get concerned about water and sewer. I get worried about who's going to work there. We have a tidal health project, 150,000 square feet. I don't worry about water and sewer. I worry about where they're going to live. If we put a moratorium on today, we already have trouble retaining the best and brightest. I made a commitment to my family when I ran for council to make Sussex County a place where my kids would want to come when they raise their family. And right now, we don't have that. My kids can't afford to live here. My daughter's going to graduate from UD in May. I don't know how she's going to afford to live here. She'll probably move somewhere else. So we're losing one of the best and brightest, and someone I love. I'm also the vice of CDAC. I go to meetings all the time, and we hear about how we can solve this crisis is by building more homes. But we have to be smart about it. We have to look at, affordable housing, workforce housing. Let's find a way to incorporate that. We can't just continue to build large-scale, large homes that people can't afford that are from here. And it's great. I went to Shields Elementary, went to Lewis Junior High, graduated from Cape, went to UD. I appreciate the changes of our area. We've had to share this area my whole life. But now people move here and want to change everything. And we all have to find a way to incorporate what's great about Sussex County and then provide opportunities for people to come here and stay here. I want to see my grandchildren grow up here, although I don't have any coming. But, I'm approaching 50, and I heard about the moratorium, and I'm like, this is just, it's reactionary. I think we could get together. I've been part of a housing committee with CDAC. I go to Delaware, decision-maker meetings, prosperity partnership meetings. We all talk about it. We need workforce. We need people here. We need to make sure our restaurants are open 7 days a week, that you can pick up your prescription, that you can get a doctor's appointment. How do we attract people to be primary care providers if, they can't the support services can't afford to live here? You have to live within a certain radius of an ER to be able to respond if somebody has a cardiac event. But who can live in Lewis and be a janitor at BB? It's tough. So I think we just all need to work together. There's a lot of bright people in this room, and I think we just need to come together and get a plan together. I think this is just kind of knee-jerk reaction. I respect it, but I think there's a better way. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. And next up would be Michelle Williams.
Can I ask how many we have on the list?
I'm down to the last 2.
Okay. If you have not had a chance to speak and you would like to speak before council, I'm going to meet here at the second podium. So please queue up there. I will take the next round of those who would like to speak, and then I'll present that list to Mr. Hudson. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Ken Kirstenberry with Axiom Engineering. My office is about 2 blocks from here, and I live in Millsboro. I'm a small shop. I've got about a half dozen people working for me, and I would like them to all continue to work for me for the foreseeable future. I do have serious concerns that have been better expressed by earlier speakers, that a moratorium may put me in a position where I'm telling someone they have to work somewhere else because I don't have any work for them to do. An earlier suggestion was made by one of those in support of the moratorium that the problem lies in Dover. I'm going to suggest that the biggest problem those in favor of a moratorium are dealing with is transportation problems around here. So I would just suggest that the solution doesn't lie in Dover. The problem lies there. The Department of Transportation has seen our comprehensive plan. They've been aware of what this county intends to do, and DelDOT has abysmally failed at proposing and providing projects. I first saw the Millsboro bypass plan that's now nearing completion on paper 25 years ago, and Joe Conaway tells me that shows how young I am because he said it was 35 years ago? 35 years to get a bypass for Millsboro. So yes, there are transportation problems here that are real, but they are the responsibility of the Delaware Department of Transportation. The funding to bring those projects forward has been abysmally lacking on the part of the state. This comprehensive plan was adopted through a public process with many stakeholders involved, including county council people, people in the community, the staff of the county, and it was a 10-year plan and is going to be revised in the next 4 years. So the opportunity for the new members of council to be very engaged on that level of comprehensive planning is ripe. And the immediate need is to look at the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2018 and ask yourself the question, where are we not measuring up? I think we all know affordable housing is huge. And I wish I had a magic bullet. I do not. I do think there are things that can be done to incentivize it, to make it more possible to do. So how do you adopt ordinances, not take a hammer out and break something, but adopt ordinances that allow people to produce the kind of housing that truly is needed? Because I don't disagree, but I don't see how a moratorium is going to in any way help with the transportation problems or the affordable housing problems at all. Implement changes in the current code with ordinances, prepare for the comp plan update that is coming, and recognize that the transportation problems are one side of the story, but the ability for people to make a living here is very relevant and shouldn't be ignored. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Michelle Williams.
Welcome to our new council members. I'm Michelle Williams, representing the Fuller Center for Housing of Delaware, as well as the Sussex Housing Group. And I really appreciate your focus on affordable housing. So I'm Michelle Williams. I'm known as Dr. Tiny. And why is that? Because I advocate for tiny houses, small scale, and incremental development as just one tool in our affordable housing toolkit. In your handout that I've provided, for those of you who don't know, I love statistics, so that's what you're seeing right there. This data was collected last summer, and Sussex County needs approximately 3,200 units per year to meet growth estimates, so we are way far behind. It's not the development that's the issue, it's the type, the location, and the consumer of that development. That's the issue. You need the right housing options in the right locations, the right housing types in the right quantities, and at the right price, so for the right people to live in them so that everybody's satisfied. A moratorium might help reassess policies and evaluate growth, but it also has unintended consequences. In cities such as Pittsburgh, New York, Los Angeles, Washington, Santa Monica, Boston, Atlanta, moratoriums have worsened housing shortages and hurt the availability of affordability. Potential negative impacts of the moratoriums have already been addressed, but just bottom line, they increase housing costs, negative economic input, and they deter business investment. For decades, we've engaged consultants, had meetings, summits, delivered presentations all around the need for affordable housing. But we can't solve these issues with the same mindset that created them. We need a shift in perspective, a break from conventional thinking, and a willingness to explore novel solutions. Perhaps we should consider adopting more of the collaborative spirit of nonprofit public-private partnerships. Serving on the Regulatory and Permitting Subcommittee of the Affordable Housing Production Task Force, I recognize our shared commitment to affordable housing. The challenge is to embrace daring solutions beyond outdated policies. While a universal solution may not exist for Delaware, I am optimistic that our recommendations in support of House Bill 442 will spark change. Now is the time for courage and bold action. So in conclusion, a moratorium may appear to manage growth, but it can worsen the housing crisis. Instead, I urge Council to explore sustainable development strategies to address Sussex County's housing for the urgent need for affordable housing. I'm ready to be sharing any kind of data that you want, and I look forward to working for you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. I forgot to say it, but Fletcher Kenton is up now, and next is David Chun. Can you state your name and address, please?
David Chun, 38975 Astor Way, Selbyville, Delaware.
Wait a minute, I missed Fletcher Kenton, but he can go
I'm
next.
sorry. Let me step away.
No, that's okay. You can go ahead. But Mr. Kenton, you're up on deck.
As I think about the proposed moratorium, I would like to offer a more nuanced view. To start, I'm not necessarily an advocate of a blanket prohibition on future growth. Putting a hard stop strikes me as overly dramatic. However, I'm a strong supporter of putting clearer requirements on both the initial approval process of new developments, as well as greater oversight on post-approval community modifications. The number of new developments in Sussex County is breathtaking, creating deep concerns on our long-term ability to accommodate and fund the cost of such growth. Compounding the ever-increasing number of new developments is the practice of allowing developers to modify their county-approved plans which negatively impact things such as traffic volume, traffic flow, and home density. It's my view there is a need for more county oversight on reviewing and approving material modifications, particularly those changes made on, quote, private property. Developers and their advisors have been very adept in exploiting these loopholes, and this needs to be addressed. I recently read a communication which stated that if approved, the moratorium would reduce funding for infrastructure improvements, create economic stagnation, and reduce the supply of affordable housing for workers, the elderly, and hardworking families. I think that's a bit overreaching. These new developments are not intended to address the affordable housing issue, as most all of the proposed units will be priced starting at $400,000 to $500,000. And the need to invest in infrastructure is largely a function of a flawed approval process that needs to be clarified, tightened, and enforced. In lieu of a blanket prohibition on building, I urge this council to exercise a balanced and equitable approach to managing future growth. The fact we have 3 new council members is hopefully a sign changes are coming. Let's clarify and strengthen the county requirements for review and approval. In doing so, all sides are assured development is managed in a more responsible and measured way. Growth, when done well, will have a positive effect on Sussex County. Growth, as this council was managed in the past, will choke Sussex County. So let's do things the right way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kenton, I skipped you, but I want to go back to you. Okay, we'll move on. Johannes Sayer, is that correct? Okay, sorry.
Just right. Good morning. My name is Johannes Sayer. I live in Lewis, 31433 Vivid View Drive in Lewis. I'm here speaking only for myself. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. And I'm so pleased to see the mix of new and old members on the council. I look forward to your good work. I urge the council to consider economic forces driving property development in Sussex County. Sussex is currently in the middle of a storm of supply and demand. Supply. Farm families are leaving agriculture. Their ag land loses its tax advantage when it goes out of production, and they become motivated sellers. Demand. The largest birth year in the baby boom, 1959, just turned 65 last year, and it seems like they're all moving here. Or more precisely, affluent retirees from the Northeast Metroplex want to move to the shore and have money to buy expensive properties here. Capital. Since the implosion of the financial markets in 2008, the investor class has significantly moved its money to real estate as a comparative safe haven with high returns. It's a safe haven because housing is a need, so it's a captive market that supports almost arbitrary pricing. As that money fuels the property development industry to satisfy those high volumes of supply and demand, local population growth and resource consumption are exceeding limits on finite natural and municipal resources. That's destroying the very conditions that attract tourists and new residents here, an uncrowded lifestyle set in the midst of the natural environment of the coastal area. So that's the situation we're in here in Sussex. That volume of economic activity and money changing hands creates momentum and critical mass which are hard to slow and control to make the activity sustainable. You all are like the train crew where the engine's running hot, the coal car's on fire, and you're trying to keep the wheels from coming off. Former District 3 Councilman Schaefer stated in May of 22 that a building moratorium would crush the local economy. But that points to the broader problem facing Sussex County. As agriculture shrinks and the population of non-working retirees in bedroom community increases, what will we base our economy on? As we run out of resources, resting easy on a booming property development industry becomes unviable. And an economy based on service jobs catering to wealthy new arrivals is not a replacement. The fact that property developers are catering to them is pricing workers for jobs serving them out of housing in the area. That's what's pricing your kids out of the area. Broadly, a building moratorium is a Band-Aid because it avoids doing the work that's actually needed, regulating property development for the long term so that the population growth and resource use it brings are subordinated to limits on finite natural and municipal resources. From Councilman Lloyd's comments at the January 7th meeting, I understand he's proposing a moratorium as a temporary measure to allow that work to proceed. We're going to pull the train off on a siding and make needed repairs. I urge the council to consider that proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. George Lodato, and behind him would be Jack Riddle.
Good morning. George Lodato, 101 Lake Drive, Laurel, Delaware. I want to thank the council for the opportunity to come up here and speak and welcome the new members. I had no plans of coming up here today until after I listened to a lot of people come out and speak on this issue. What I haven't heard is, with all the new housing coming in and all the new people coming into these housings, what about the blue collar jobs? I hear a lot of jobs in the health industry, fire and EMS and those issues, but what about the blue collar jobs? Once we get done with all the housing, all these jobs that we talk about, construction workers, it's going to slow down. Sooner or later, it's going to slow down. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. We need some long-term jobs out there for the blue-collar people coming into the area, and also for the children growing up in this area, and not chase them out to other places where there is work. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, sir. Jack Riddle. Next up would be Dave Gillen.
Good morning, and I'm glad it's still morning, not afternoon. My name is Jack Riddle. I live in Picnic Basket Court in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Born and raised here, longtime Sussex Countyan. My kids live here, my grandkids live here, and so I'm really interested in the success of our county. I currently serve as president of Community Bank Delaware. Small local bank, all we care about is Sussex County. End of story, period. I spend a lot of time working with businesses and individuals and families on trying to meet their needs, trying to help their businesses grow, trying to get them to house, trying to find them a place to live, trying to find them a job. But I spend a lot more time trying to help this county be a better place. And we work with nonprofits. We've worked with the cities and the towns and a lot of the places trying to find this affordable housing, because every business person I talk to, there's a problem. We need workers. Dr. Tam, he hit it home that healthcare is a big issue. I spent 15 years as treasurer of Nanticoke Memorial Hospital. I've been there. I've seen it. I also sit on the board of CDF, which is the Council for Development Finance, which provides a lot of money to provide jobs that end up in Newcastle County. What's up with that? We need to find a way to get him here. I'm opposed to the moratorium. I think it's a too dramatic step. I think everybody in this room wants the same thing. We all want to keep this county a great place to be. It's pretty easy to clear. Why do people want to live here? We all want to live here. This is a beautiful place to be, and we want to keep it that way. I would implore you to not do this moratorium. I would implore you to get some stakeholders together. I'll invest whatever we need to do to bring people to the table to figure out solutions. We all want this to be a better place, and I would implore you to not do the moratorium, but bring us all together, get us all in a room. There's solutions. There's a lot of smart people in this room that all care about this county, every single one of them. Every one of you care about this county. You wouldn't have taken on that fine job up there, which I'm glad you have, not me. So thank you again, and please consider all the folks in this room, stakeholders, business people. This is going to affect not just builders, not just developers, not just engineers, but the people working in these restaurants, the people that are fixing this HVAC, the people working at the gas stations. The trickle down here will be amazingly poor. So please consider finding a different solution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dave Gillen. Next up would be Allison White.
My name is Dave Gillen. I'm the chairman and CEO of County Bank in Rehoboth Beach. We're headquartered in Rehoboth, but we have 7 locations around the county. I'm not going to rehash a lot of the economic information that we've heard. Earlier you heard Ron speaking about adversely impacting one person's salary and that trickling down to 3 or 4 more people. Dr. Tam just talked about speaking with or recruiting your surgeon and needing 3 or 4 more support people who they can't get here. So we have a challenge. We all recognize we have a challenge. And as we go through this deliberation, as you go through this deliberation, what we haven't heard about is we've been talking about the trickle down, or in economic terms, the money multiplier effect. What we haven't talked about is the true impact. And so those of you who were here in 2008, you may recall looking at the Cape Gazette and seeing 5 pages of sheriff sales. Those are people who are losing their homes. So, as Jack mentioned, with Community Bank, we're community banks. We're the only local community bank here. And so we have lent to developers. I've lent to mechanics. I've lent to hairstylists. I've lent to every occupation you can think of down here. So when you look at how the economy stopped, we've been here before. When the economy stopped in 2008, all the people that lost their jobs, multiple, it wasn't just construction. That was every occupation. You look at the sheriff sales, it was every occupation, and it was heartbreaking. So as you go through your deliberations, I just ask you to think about the people that will be impacted, because there will be a disastrous effect for a 1-year moratorium. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Allison White. Next up would be Lily Weatherby.
Hi, my name's Allison White, and I live in Lewis. First, I'd like to congratulate and welcome the new council members. I just wanted to say a few words about why I and many of my neighbors voted for change on the county council, and that is unchecked development and the degradation that this is causing to our community and to our region. Overdevelopment and the resulting population growth is overtaxing our natural and municipal resources, and it's creating costs that are borne by county residents and will continue to be borne in the future. So, development needs to be balanced with protecting the public interest. And that means protecting the environment, protecting farmers and farmland, excuse me, and ensuring that emergency responders, traffic systems, schools, and other municipal services are funded, staffed, and equipped to support population growth. Now, I noticed that there are 5 large Sussex County developments projects on the agenda for the upcoming PLUS review. So I would ask that the council work as quickly as possible to create new regulations and amend the current ones to bring the infrastructure into alignment with the existing population and to disallow new development that's not already supported by adequate infrastructure, and also to put strong regulations in place to protect the natural environment, and which include recognizing the limits of our natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. State your name and address. Next up would be Katie Millard.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Lily Weatherby from Washington, D.C. And thank you, Mr. President and Council. My name is Lily Weatherby with the National Association of Home Builders. It is with regret we are in opposition to this potential moratorium that will halt housing production for the next 12 months. NHB represents over 130,000 home builders across the nation, from small to medium to large size builders who work to produce more attainable housing for many community members such as yours. Placing a development moratorium will further push housing stock and affordability in your community. The trickle-down effect will increase the cost of housing. The aftermath of such moratorium will increase the price for housing and will price out your constituents. First, if this potential moratorium passes, it will jeopardize many of your hardworking constituents who happen to be engineers, architects, construction workers, plumbers, electricians, and so on, who depend on development projects in their line of work. To give you a perspective, a mid to large size development per average hires from 50 to 100 professionals in the duration of the project. Even when the project is done, we have folks from your community who are realtors are involved in selling it. Secondly, housing development spurs economic growth locally by creating a demand for goods and services, which include materials, retail services, and restaurants. And this in turn puts dollars into supporting your local mom and pop restaurants and stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, who actually employ some of your constituents. Thirdly, each house built in your community provides more revenue to the city through property tax allocations that in turn can be reinvested in infrastructure, community services, and roads, which is one of the main concerns. It is also important to note that developers pay traffic mitigation impact fees through impact fees that essentially are supposed to address some of those concerns that the council member has on traffic and infrastructure. Finally, our concern is that once you push a development project approval by another year, that means it will even take longer to approve a project because of staff shortages, typically at the local level. With these reasons, we stand firm in our opposition to any potential moratorium. We understand that the council member is coming with good faith and intention, but we don't believe this is the solution to solving this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Then next up is Jonathan. I'm not sure about the last name.
Katie Millard, 206 Academy Street, Georgetown, Delaware, 19947. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding the proposed building moratorium in Sussex County. My name is Katie Millard, and I serve as the Director of Development and Advocacy at Sussex County Habitat for Humanity. I understand the concerns surrounding the rapid pace of development and the pressure on our infrastructure, including roads, water, and sewer systems. However, I believe a building moratorium would have unintended consequences that could significantly impact our community, particularly for medium and lower income families. Affordability is a key concern. There is already a shortage of homes that are affordable for people who work in essential sectors like healthcare, retail, tourism, education, and agriculture. If we halt new construction for a year or more, the impact on housing affordability will be severe. As more people continue to move to Sussex County, they will likely purchase existing homes, which are typically more affordable than new builds, and this would make it even harder for those who grew up here or work in vital industries to find a place to live. The local economy would also suffer. Many people in our community work in construction and related trades. A moratorium on building would directly threaten their livelihoods and have broader negative impacts on Sussex County's economy. At Habitat for Humanity, we build 10 to 15 homes each year across the county and are considering major subdivisions in the future. If this moratorium goes forward, we would be unable to secure permits, severely limiting our ability to provide affordable homeownership opportunities for low-income families who need them the most. For these reasons, we oppose a building moratorium. However, I do believe there are opportunities to address the underlying concerns by improving zoning codes, increasing density in growth areas, and prioritizing affordable housing development throughout the county. Working collaboratively with stakeholders in both the public and private sectors, we can find solutions that balance the needs for sustainable growth with the pressing demand for affordable housing. This approach would help preserve the vibrancy of our economy, protect jobs, and ensure that future generations have access to a range of housing options. I urge the Council to consider these alternatives and work towards a solution that benefits all residents of Sussex County. Thank you for your time and consideration to this matter.
Thank you. Jonathan. And next up is Ring Lardner. Sorry about the last name. I couldn't read it.
Jonathan Content with K. Evnanian Homes. Our office is 2499 South DuPont Boulevard in Smyrna, Delaware. Just want to say good morning and thank you for the opportunity to come before you and speak about this proposed ordinance. I know it's not, I haven't seen a draft of it yet, but this proposal. At first reaction, I think many of us in this room think there's no way they can do that. They've got to understand the negative impacts that it's going to have across the county. And I think a lot of you do, but what it has done is it's brought all of us together here in this room to talk about the big issues that may have gotten a couple of you elected to council this past election. So thank you for this opportunity to come before you and to speak. A lot of great points have already been made. I'm not going to rehash statistics and specific numbers or some of those things, but I wanted to give an opportunity and an open invitation to council. I know many of you do already understand the development process, but for those who are new and haven't necessarily gone through it on the developer or the home builder side, when we look at infrastructure, there are a couple of different things that happen before we even get to the point of a preliminary plan. The first one is a traffic impact study. There's always complaints about traffic, especially beach traffic in the summertime, and everybody points to developers and they say, you know, you guys are the cause of this, but we work hand in hand with DelDOT. DelDOT requires us to study not only the existing conditions, but what the conditions would be 5 years from now with or without development, and then 2 years after full build out. We do traffic counts, we hire engineers to go through it, and we let DelDOT review all the data and tell us, here's what you're going to do. That's not just our frontage improvements, but that's off-site improvements. So the intersection down the street or 3 or 4 streets over. When you get into areas where those improvements are being made in kind of, or would be made in a patchwork, DelDOT says, you know what, this isn't going to work for us. Let's do a transportation improvement district. Each developer or anybody who's contributing traffic above what we have now will pay a fee into that. We'll take that engineering on so we get a wide area impact rather than, again, piecemeal. And that's where you see improvements both on Route 24, but you also see DelDOT working hand in hand, understanding that they have issues that stem from decades ago. A gentleman brought up the bypass in Millsboro that is just now under construction after 30 plus years. DelDOT has a highway corridor capacity project that they're doing all down 113 because they understand that with or without any new development, they have problems with the way that their roads are constructed and what they're designed for, and this is their opportunity to try to address that. So it's kind of on the traffic side of things. I heard someone say that we should not allow new development unless the infrastructure is already in place. But the reality is when we come and we propose a project, if that infrastructure is not in place, we get to pay for it. You guys don't have to. We pay for it. We pay impact fees. We pay the construction. We go and we build it. You guys inspect it and accept it. And we are able to expand those services, both water and for sewer, to people who don't already have that and are on wells or failing septic systems. But developers take that cost on and then we turn it over to the authorities who are going to run that. And so we build that infrastructure. If you place a moratorium on this, that growth and that expansion, that's not just expansion across the state or across the county for who we serve, but that also includes plant improvements downstream. That's what the impact fees are for. So there's a lot of money that developers bring to this process to help build your county out, and placing a moratorium on that will only slow that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ring Lardner.
Morning, Mr. President, members of council. My name is Ring Lardner. I am president of Davis Bone and Friedel, 1 Park Avenue, Milford, Delaware, 19963, with over 100 employees amongst 3 offices between Milford, Salisbury, and Easton. So on behalf of the company, I'd like to welcome the new council members here today and look forward to working with you going forward. About a third of our employees live in Sussex County and will be directly impacted should this moratorium be approved. And that's not just engineers and designers, that's surveyors, that's finance, marketing, and the like are all affected by this. I don't have an eloquent speech prepared because I figured by the time you got to me, most of the things I wanted to say had already been spoken anyway, so without repeating things, I do want to talk about the 4-to-1 time frame that was mentioned by Mr. Conway. As mentioned as well, with the 2008 downturn, for a 1-year moratorium, it takes about 4 years to recover from it, not just from applications, development. It also includes hiring and everything else, because I remember we laid off staff during that time in 2008. We didn't start hiring again until 2013, 2014. That is 6 years where we didn't hire new staff. That gap, and probably most of my colleagues will agree in the engineering field, is where we've lost a lot of our senior engineers right now because we could not hire them, train them appropriately. So it does have an impact long range. And for some of us, not me yet, but others that are looking to retire, it's affected some of their retirement plans in that industry. Mr. Constant already mentioned about improvements. Developers do a lot of improvements. The one thing he did not mention was the Henlopen TID, which some of this body, actually most of you are probably well aware, is funded 28% by development. Meaning of all the money needed in the Henlopen TID, 28% comes from development. So if that faucet is turned off, those improvements that Delta wants to do, they either got to come more out of their pockets or it gets delayed beyond the 2045 time frame they have predicted. With all ordinances and other resolutions and issues, always ask the question, as I did most recently with Chapter 999C in open space, what are the second and third order effects of any resolutions? So what are those second and third order effects we've all trying to figure out? Should a moratorium be in place, and how does that go to everything else? One of the other things that could be mentioned is it may push development to municipalities. That may be true, but I would offer that there are many municipalities out there that either don't want development in their municipality or don't have the infrastructure to support it. So that may not also be an opportunity for development, as we've all agreed that's needed. So I'll end on a couple of different things. One, as you've heard before, urge a working group to be put together to resolve the issues. We all agree there's common issues we have together. We may different opinions, and that's okay. But we have all civically, damn, I went fast, come together, and I personally volunteer to work on that, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
If there's anyone else who wishes to sign up, this is the last call. I can meet you at the podium here. We've got 6 more speakers that are queued up outside. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, I'll meet you at the podium. Thank you.
Okay, Gerardo, I can't read the last name. Okay. I'll move on to Steve Fortunato. And next up would be Doug Brown.
Steve Fortunato. I live in Dagsboro, Delaware, and I work out of Rehoboth Beach. I've been working as a civil engineer out of this county for about 15 years, and I've lived here for about 10. And I can say that I strongly oppose a moratorium for a number of reasons. First, selfishly, I employ about a dozen young UD graduates, and I would really not. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional on this here because it's gonna hit home. I've helped train some of these young staff the past 3 years, very, very carefully. And I looked at them yesterday and said, hey guys, if this goes through, everyone that's working on a Sussex residential job will probably not be here next year. And their faces went blank, and their eyes went wide. And I said, That's what this means, because we cannot support, the industry cannot support the current amount of growth, the current amount of employees, the current amount of young employees that are here if the building construction halts. So I will say that's my very selfish reason for opposing a moratorium, because I don't want to have these conversations over the next 6, 12, 18 months. But I can say on a wider perspective, there's a couple of key points that will have a much larger impact. And first is that it won't just be the engineers, the developers that have this impact. It goes like to the blue collar workers. They're going to get scared. They're going to hear things are coming down. They're going to see development reduce. They're going to move away because they have to support their families. And they're not going to come back in a year because the council promises that the moratorium opens and they think everything will just jump back to the way it was. It's going to have a lasting impact. Secondly, the supply of houses will drastically reduce. That's going to cause the prices to go up. When things come back around and development returns, as it will, that's going to cause the price of housing to be significantly higher than it is now, which is already a concern for working families. So what you'll have is you'll have a continuous influx of the retirees that have worked their whole lives and are in a state where they can move to the beach. That's great. No problem with that happening. But what you're going to have is a severe reduction in the support and the working class that's going to be the EMS, the fire, the public servants, the private, I don't know how many restaurants I still go in, and there's entire sections that were built and not seated because they just can't find workers to bust the tables. And when that happens, I think that's going to cause a large strain on the economy. I will say that as a civil engineer, I've worked with various members, not just in Sussex County, across the state. I know there's several people here that behind me that I've worked with as well that will donate our time, that will donate our experience and our nights to help provide the change that's needed in a smart way. So just ask for the help. We'll be there to help, and we're all in support of positive change, not a moratorium.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Brown. And next up is Andy Eng. Yes.
Good morning. I'm Doug Brown. I'm here representing Bunny and Murray Construction, which is a site and utility construction company based in Selbyville. It was started by Coleman Bunning and Jay Murray in 1983. Jay was the foreman of a four-man crew. It's since grown to over 100 employees, and I'm here to speak on behalf of them. We have about a third of our employees that are 60 years or older and have an average tenure of at least 25 years. About a third are less than 35 years old, and about a third are in the middle. My point is that there are men and women from across the spectrum of Sussex County starting their families, starting their careers, or winding down a long career and, quite frankly, could have retired but enjoy their work. They show up in frigid temperatures like today and scorching heat in the summertime to provide for their families. They coach youth sports, sit on boards, they're volunteer firefighters. Many are veterans. We serve all nonprofits, churches, and even local governments. A moratorium is floated at last week's council meeting would have devastating consequences to our company and for these Sussex County residents. Such a moratorium would have immediate negative impacts on our company and our economy. We care about our county as much as anybody. Mr. Murray's been farming these lands since the early 1900s. I look at our roster of employees this morning, and I couldn't find a single one who hasn't told me a story about hunting or fishing, enjoying the water, or just running or biking the trails. So we do care about the environment and this beautiful place that we live. We want to be part of the solution to find a forward way towards smart growth. We work every day with county agencies and inspectors. We sit on work groups, and we want to continue to help be part of the solution. But a moratorium would devastate us. We certainly have many projects in our pipeline that would continue, but eventually that moratorium would hit us. And when it hits, we would be basically stopped with work, and we'd have to lay off these employees. We hope you also consider the impact of investment in the county. I just attended a unveiling of a Sussex Tech building, new plans that included heavy equipment trainings and heavy equipment facilities. We've committed to the state's apprenticeship program and currently employ one young man from that program, and he's already referred two others to our company. I've lived in Rehoboth and raised my family here for the last 28 years. I have 3 sons starting their careers in Northern Virginia, Miami, and New York City. And let me tell you, talk about a quick lesson in affordable housing. But would their options here be any better if a moratorium were passed? Anything east of 113 is already priced out of their range. So again, I ask you just to carefully consider this proposal. We don't believe that a moratorium is the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Yang? And on deck is R.C. Willen.
Hello, Andy Eng, 30049 Thurgoods Road, Dagsboro. President Hudson, thank you. Fellow council members, thank you. I stand here in opposition to the moratorium on behalf not only myself as a 35-year resident of Sussex County, born and raised in Ocean City, so I'm very familiar with the growth. But I stand here before you on behalf of Chesapeake Plumbing and Heating and the companies that we represent of over 250 employees. We've heard a lot today. I've heard a lot of good things, and I really have nothing more to add. I just would like each and every council member to think about the people that this will affect. Our employees directly. This isn't like, hey, there's a plan in place and we have to re-strategize. Now it's, you have to lose we may be looking for other people to take your place on a lower, less, we may even shut down. I mean, I don't know. This is crazy. This is nuts. This is like lack of preparation and planning. So I think, on behalf of Chesapeake and myself, I mean, look, this is not the place. Talk about polarization instantaneously, right to a moratorium. There's a lot of planning that takes place in the planning and zoning, and I think that's where the regulatory and the planning and the minds need to really hash this out and to move forward, but not to affect the people directly. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Willen. Next on deck is Kevin Bowman.
Good morning. My name is R.C. Willen. I am from Seaford, Delaware. My family is a family farming operation in western Sussex County and in Maryland. Thank you for the opportunity to share some ideas that I have concerning the situation we face with a potential moratorium. Although I appreciate the sentiment in which that suggestion was put forth, I happen to live in that district with Councilman Lloyd, but I do not believe that that is the proper approach to take at this time. Let me just state what I think are some of the consequences that might be affecting the agricultural community if we were to proceed with any type of moratorium. Number one, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but in this past year was very difficult for agriculture in the state of Delaware. Gross receipts in Delaware per farm have dropped 50%. Can you imagine what business can stand a 50% drop in gross receipts and still be sustainable? The issue was suggested that maybe this would help preserve farmland. The moratorium was not going to do that in and of itself, obviously. We all know that and understand that. However, in the short term, the consequences would be, perhaps if you purchased a piece of land in the past year and paid development prices for it, which we have done, then you face this year with a decline in income and the difficulty of perhaps refinancing for the next year. Your collateral has immediately dropped with this moratorium. It would severely drop the value of agricultural land to the point where maybe the lender no longer feels comfortable with that and would then request additional collateral, which may be difficult to do at this particular time. In addition to that, we face the same challenges that you as residents do with regard to congestion of our roads. And I do not believe that the challenge is the council's challenge. I believe it does rest with DelDOT. I've been involved in a number of land use planning opportunities and I've also served at the pleasure of the council on a number of stakeholder groups. I would encourage you to consider looking at establishing a stakeholder group that represents agriculture at the table, along with all the other interested parties, to address the problem that you have before you. We already feel the pressure of development in our area, not necessarily just from the fact that new homes may be built there or new projects are there, but because the farms that are in the development areas now from 113 to 13 are now moving their operations to the west and forcing land prices to also escalate in our area just because of the demand for farmland. If we really want to preserve agriculture, and I'm taking this opportunity to speak to this issue because it's part of what I think the moratorium was designed to try to address, then I think we need to understand that it's not just about preserving farmland, it's about preserving the agriculture, the farmer himself. And so we need to be looking at opportunities to do that in this process. And my concern is just not having to be worried about a moratorium and the immediate impact that it would have not only on development, projects that are in the pipeline, but also on the agriculture industry itself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Bowman.
Good morning. Kevin Bowman, 24587 Beaver Way, Georgetown, right off the very rarely used Zor Road. Good morning. Kevin Bowman, 24587 Beaver Way, Georgetown, right off the very rarely used Zor Road. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. I stand before you to oppose the proposed building moratorium in our county. While I understand the concerns that have brought us to this discussion, be it infrastructure strain, environmental impact, or resource allocation, halting development is not the solution. A moratorium is a blunt tool that sacrifices growth, opportunity, and progress for temporary relief. First, a moratorium will stifle economic growth. Our county thrives on the jobs, services, and tax revenue that the new construction generates. Builders, contractors, and suppliers, and countless small businesses depend on continued development. A freeze on building doesn't just pause projects, it puts livelihoods at risk. Second, a moratorium could exasperate our housing crisis. With population growth, we need more affordable housing options, not fewer. By halting construction, we risk inflating housing prices further, making it harder for families to live and work here. Finally, pausing development doesn't solve the root issues. Instead of shutting the door on progress, let's focus on solutions, investing in infrastructure, planning smarter growth, and fostering collaboration between developers and the community. By addressing these challenges head-on, we can balance growth and sustainability. A building moratorium sends the wrong message. It tells businesses and families that we are closed for growth. But that's not who we are. Let's work together for the future that welcomes opportunity, innovation, and prosperity for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Over the pronunciation.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Shelley Checkett. I'm the Executive Director of the Kent-Sussex Leadership Alliance, and I live on 1204 Savannah Road in Lewis. I'm here today on behalf of the Kent-Sussex Leadership Alliance, and we strongly believe that the suggested moratorium would have a negative impact on the region's economy, on our ability to attract businesses, and on the livelihood of countless residents. Like others, we see this as an opportunity to work together to find a comprehensive solution that addresses the underlying concerns prompting this proposal. Sussex County's growth and success require a collaborative, forward-looking approach that will balance the needs of the community as well as the importance of continuing to drive economic development. We stand ready to engage in constructive dialogue with leadership, local businesses, council, the state, and other stakeholders to find a long-term solution to the issues today. We appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rich Brasso. I'm sorry, I missed one, but I'll jump back. Go ahead, Rich. Yeah. I skipped one.
Rich Barrasso, Milton, also founder of SARG, Sussex Alliance for Responsible Growth. I'm also on the board of SBC. I had not planned to make prepared comments, but a couple things that I heard, I just wanted to share some observations. Number one is I've gone back and forth in terms of moratorium. And basically the reason why I have is I'm not sure what it is as relates to what we're trying to do. I took the time to review moratorium examples. Obviously, Kent County has 3. State of Maryland has several. I think the most encouraging thing heard today is the need for all parties to get together. But this cannot be a perpetual project. There has to be some disincentive to not reaching consensus on what has to take place to preserve what we have here, not just for the people that are living here today, the people that we're trying to attract to the area, and obviously our children and grandchildren, if they so choose to live in this wonderful place. So my main message is let's work together, but this cannot be a perpetual project. I support the Sussex Preservation Coalition recommendation that we need to hear from the council within 3 months in terms of what the plan is. And then secondly, timelines in terms of how we're going to go about solving these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back on the list. Bruce Wright. Sorry, I skipped you.
Last name of Wright, I'm usually last anyway. Bruce Wright, 308 North Railroad Avenue. Like the previous speaker, I didn't plan on saying anything. But I listened to everyone who else came before me and realized that I'm kind of an independent party. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm not a builder. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a financer of homes. I work for a social service agency. I work for First State Community Action Agency, and I have for the last 31 years. And I want to advocate for the clients that we see. Now, as an agency, we serve more than 10,000 people across the state of Delaware. 50% are in Sussex County. And the number one reason why people come to see us is because they're either in danger of losing their housing, or they're looking for housing, or they need help securing housing. And I want to advocate for those folks, not for or against the moratorium, more or less, but just acknowledging that housing is a huge need in our county. Affordable housing is a bigger need, as it's already been stated. And the other point I wanted to make is the infrastructure point. We also process loan applications for DENREC, for septic repair. And when you start talking about increasing infrastructure, central septic systems, central water systems are much needed in our county, not only for people's health and safety, but also lending itself to housing, to increase the density, to increase the availability of affordable housing. So, like I said, I'm not for or against, but I just want to state the needs. We see them every day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Richard, is it Garufi? Last one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, how you doing? Thanks for letting me speak.
This is mainly for our employees and everything. We're a small building company in Delaware, and all of our work, majority of our work is in Sussex County. And if this moratorium took effect, it would affect our business tremendously. We'd pretty much lose everything. So I'm very much against it, and I hate to see it come around. But thank you for your time, and good luck.
Sir, could we get your name and address, please, for the record?
My name is Richard Garufi, 14629 Blue Heron Drive, Ocean View.
Thank you. Operator, I understand there are some people online that want to speak.
Yes, if there is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment, please dial 5*.
There's a delay.
I have Judy on the line. Judy, your line is open.
Hello, my name is Seibert. I'm sorry, there's a terrible echo, so it's difficult for me to speak. However, I would like to congratulate, I'm going to turn my volume down so I don't hear the echo. I'm going to congratulate the new council members, and I look forward to the good work that they will do. From what I've heard today, I believe there's a confusion about a building moratorium and a moratorium on accepting new applications. And I would suggest that if there is a moratorium, that it be a 1 year or 9 month moratorium on accepting new applications. And that perhaps also workforce housing, affordable housing, medical facilities should be excluded from such a program. And this might actually do something that County Council and Planning and Zoning has not been able to do in the past, in that it has not been able to control the type of housing that is built. And the result being that we have an extraordinary number of $400,000 and $500,000 homes or more, and a real lack of affordable or workforce housing. One reason I believe a moratorium on new applications is really needed is because once an application goes into the plus process, new ordinances will not apply, as you all know, and maybe the public doesn't know this. Only the ordinances that were in place when the new application is processed apply. As a result of this, we have a real problem now with developers rushing to put new applications in place before new ordinances go into effect. We really need some new ordinances. I know Planning and Zoning has been unable to deny some applications that they have wanted to deny because they didn't have the ordinances to allow them to deny them. One point in case is Brentwood. I would like to say about TISs that old TISs are used and they don't consider build out of approved subdivisions in preparing those TISs. I know that was definitely the truth when Scenic Manor was having its hearings, because I spoke in opposition to Scenic Manor and the how out of date the TIS was for that application. As SBC has said, the growth has been irresponsible.
Okay.
The county is in a crisis. Our quality of life is decreasing, and
Ma'am, I'm
I
going to
look
have to
forward to what you can do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Operator, is anyone else online?
If there is anyone else who would like to make a public comment, please dial 5*. We have one other caller. Michaela, your line is open.
Thank you. My name is Michaela Alone. I'm the Associate Director of Development for Volker Development. We're an affordable housing developer with a current community in construction in Sussex County and Lewis. Our office is here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Banning all development in the county will only exacerbate the affordable housing crisis. Without new construction for families across the income spectrum, the supply of housing will fail to meet demand, driving prices even higher and pushing more residents out of the community and hurting the county's economy. The county should focus on policies that encourage responsible, affordable, and sustainable development to address housing shortages while preserving the area's character and resources. A blanket ban is short-sighted and will harm low and middle-income families the most. Thank you.
Thank you. Operator, would you check online, please?
At this time, no one else